Hello everyone, my name is Dennis Clary. I'm going to talk to you today about VocFit and how it's going to be useful to your practice. So we're going to describe the basics of VocFit and then show you some of the new features that have been added in the last year or so. If you have questions following this, please feel free to email me at dennis.clary@cchmc.org. So what is this thing and why should I use it? VocFit is a 133-item assessment of worker abilities and job demands. It's research-based and focuses on the strengths of individuals while also identify the areas that they might need to learn or develop in. We can use it to show measurable skills gained over the course of intervention. It is valid and reliable. It's an excellent internship and job matching tool. We made it telehealth and teleeducation enabled, so you can send requests and reports remotely to people. We did just finish a 6-year NIH grant, and the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities invested in improving this new version of the website. We've assessed at this point over 15,000 users and well over 9,000 jobs. We've linked to My Next Move, so we have videos for exploration and links to local jobs in the United States. And now we have over 270 jobs in our Discovery Job Bank. So quick case study, this guy named Doug, and Doug wants to be a movie theater usher. He's in the Project Search program, and so he has 3 internships to develop the skills that he needs to be a movie theater usher. If we look in the right-hand corner, the green, yellow, orange, and red line is showing how well suited he is to be a movie theater usher. Green is good. Yellow, orange, and red are various forms of skills that he needs to learn. And so this helps us to identify those. If you look at the purple at the bottom, 133 items in VocFit shows you where he is for each of those items. It's the same data just being shown in 2 different ways. When you open it, you can actually identify what are the greens, what are the yellows, what are the oranges, and what are the reds. So it helps us to prioritize what are the skills that Doug needs to learn for second and third. Are there some things that maybe we can ask for some adaptations to be able to do something differently? So say, for example, one of the items is that you need to be able to stand. And let's say that Doug's in a wheelchair. We need to know that the environment might need some modifications or some accommodations for him to be able to do that independently. So we need to identify if that is a strength or if that's a need that he has. So this is real data about one of our Project Search alumni. And so we can see that first, there's a lot of yellow, orange, and red in that first assessment that was done in October of 23. If you look at the next one in June of 24, you can see a lot of those yellow, oranges, and reds for that movie theater usher job have turned green. Still has a little bit of yellow, but again, what a great way to demonstrate the growth that Doug has had over the course of that year. If we go to this assessment, which you'll find on VocFit, it's automatically going to compare your first assessment to the most recent assessment. So the purple is where he was in October, the light blue is where is he in June of 24. So again, great percentage improvements across all of those areas. And then if we look at the bottom, we can see where he's at for all 133 skill areas. So what is VocFit? Again, 133 items that you assess. It's going to take you 20 minutes or so the first time you assess someone. After that, 10 to 15 minutes. So these are just 3 of those items. To what degree do you have the ability to lift heavy materials, determine priorities, or refrain from unnecessary social interaction? VocFit is a partner report, so we're going to be reporting on the individuals that we are providing support to. On the other side is the job demand side of it. So to what degree does your job require you to lift heavy materials, determine priorities, or refrain from unnecessary social interactions? High demand, some demand, low demand. And after that, we have a matching algorithm, which I'll show you here in a second. But that's really what VocFit is. What is somebody's ability? What are the demands of the job? And how is that interaction? So the basis of these 133 items of VocFit, we looked at the National Longitudinal Transition Study 2, which studied thousands of individuals with IEPs. We looked specifically at individuals with developmental disabilities, looked at the SOC codes of the jobs that they had after graduation, went to the ONET, which is the U.S. Department of Labor website, that has extensive task analyses for most jobs in the U.S. economy, looked at the skills that they needed to perform in the environments they did those skills in, had a very intense iterative process, and we've actually been working on this now for about 13 years. So we feel pretty good about the 133 items that are in VocFit, that they do a pretty good job of addressing most of the skills that someone with a developmental disability needs to be able to do an entry-level job. We have a 3-point rating scale: high, some, and low ability when we're assessing an individual. High ability, you leave them alone in the room. They're able to do these skills. Each of the 133 skills gets a score independently if they have high ability, so up to the expectation of a host business. Low ability at the bottom means they are dependent or unsure. So you're in the room with them providing extensive support. They're not able to meet the expectation of the host business. With support is somewhere in the middle. So they have some emerging skill, but they're not quite there yet. So their speed isn't where it needs to be, or accuracy isn't where it needs to be. High ability, some ability, low ability. Our recommendation is that the team, the first couple times you do this, you go through the assessment as a team. And then after that, maybe divide that up so that, members of the team and you have those responsibilities spread out. When we're looking at the demands of the job, we think of high demand, some demand, low demand. High demand is essential, low demand almost never or none. Low demand we actually don't model. So if you need to do it occasionally, then I would say some of the time. So high, some, and low demand. If you think about a movie theater, if you think about a restaurant and you think about a server, and one of the items is communicating face-to-face with the general public, the server has a high demand to do that. A dishwasher in the back of the house has a low demand to interact face-to-face with the public, whereas a busser has some demand to interact face-to-face with the public. If you ask the busser a big question, they're going to say, hold on, let me get the server, and they can answer that question for you. So high demand, some demand, low demand. 133 items divided in 11 subscales. There are different numbers of items within each of these subscales. And so these are just some examples of each of those items. And again, these are taken primarily directly from ONET. So the words can be a little bit awkward, but again, they're made to be general enough that you can use them across categories of jobs and not specifically for an individual job. So higher related task abilities, they're towards the middle, set up and adjust machines. So it's not going to be a specific machine, but machines in general. We give you these back as raw scores by subscale. So if you look at physical abilities at the top, this individual, there are 11 items. They scored high ability across all. 11 times 2 is 22, so they scored a 22 out of 22, 100%. So we just give you those scores back. There is some statistical analysis that went into this. We use content experts to help identify the differences between 0, 1, and 2, low, some, and high. So it is a Likert scale, but you can have a little bit more confidence than a Likert scale that was just made up. Work structure, which has the asterisk in it, or next to it in the middle. There's 13 items. 13 times 2 is a 26. Perfect score for this individual would have been a 26 out of 26. This individual is a 21 out of 26. And again, just says that that's 5 some ability and 8 high ability. So again, we just give you those scores back. Within the project search model, we ask you to fill out VocFit 4 times a year. So we do it before the first internship and then before the start of the second and third internship. So when we do that, we're actually doing it before and after each internship. So it's usually at about the week 7 or 8 of each of the first, second, and third internships. That last one you want to do so that you can use that to help develop their job coaching plan for their first job. So this is our approach to job matching. What we're trying to do is to be systematic, data-driven, and analytical. We're never telling you exactly what to do, but we're giving you and the individual you're supporting and their family information to make the best decisions for them. So we have this instructional prompt: to what degree does the worker demonstrate, or for the job, to what degree does the job demand? We have a customized rating scale, or common item stems. So the ability to communicate face-to-face with other people is one of those item stems. And then we have a customized rating scale: high, some, and low ability, high sum and low demand. And then we actually have set up an equation, but instead of math, we use beautiful colors. So if you think about if you have someone that's a job seeker and they have high ability to communicate face-to-face with the public, and then the demand of the job, there's a high demand for that. Our algorithm says that's a good thing, so that's a mastered skill, so we use green for that. High ability and some demand, still a mastered skill. Some ability, some demand, low ability, some demand. So for us, from a learning standpoint, we really like the yellows. In occupational therapy, we call that the Just Right internship. For if you're a teacher, zone of proximal development, that's kind of where we're looking at making the best use of helping someone move from yellow to hopefully green. Orange, some ability, high demand. They have some emerging skill, but they're not quite 100% yet, but they have to do it a lot. So we just have to be concerned about that orange color to figure out how do we best provide that intervention so they can move hopefully again from orange to green. Low ability, or you're unsure, and high demand. We model that as red or a con. Red doesn't mean no. When you come to a stoplight, you don't stop there and stay forever. You get more information before you go left, right, or straight. And again, low demand falls out altogether. So low demand is really no demand. So within the project search model, if you're using internships to lead to employment, we're intentionally putting people in yellow, orange, and red skills so they can learn those skills to be able to meet their job goal. If you look on the far right, that's more appropriate for a job that we're looking at. For all of us, we have some yellow, orange, and red parts of our job, things that we need to learn, things we need some accommodations for. Maybe you're not great on Excel, but someone else on your team is, so they help you with some Excel spreadsheets. Whatever it is, all of us have a little bit of that. But we need to have a solid base in green so that we can continue to develop those skills. So one of the things that we've done in this last year is added some new features, and I'm just going to go through and show you what some of those features are. First, we've added we're now at 275 jobs in our Discovery Job Bank. We've also integrated mynextmove.org, and again, the support videos that you can watch after this will show you how to access all of those things. In the United States, we can also link to local jobs. You enter a zip code for your area, and it'll show you open real jobs in your area that are specific to that particular SOC code. We've also added artificial intelligence job matching support. So here's just an example. So what are the best jobs for this job seeker? What are the best jobs for this job seeker in healthcare, or whatever their particular interest is? It's going to look at all of the jobs, including jobs you've entered for your particular site, and compare them to the most recent assessment that was done on that job seeker. So I asked, what are the 5 best jobs for this job seeker in healthcare? It shows you those 5 best jobs. So then you can say, we've selected veterinary assistant as the job. So what are the skills this job seeker needs to develop to be able to do that? So then it'll list you can say 10 skills, whatever it might be. So handling stress, listening, pay attention, refraining from unnecessary social interaction, and on and on and on. And so I'm asking specifically, what are the ways we can help the job seeker better handle stress? So then it's going to ask that specifically. You can even go further and say, create a lesson plan around managing stress and use that. The nice thing about this is you can copy and paste it and bring it into a Word doc or a Google doc and manipulate it, check it, make sure you feel like it's correct. It doesn't store permanently on the site. So again, it's transient. We're not sharing any identifying information about the VocFit user with, we're actually using ChatGPT to do this. The other thing that we added is the VocFit planning tool. So again, when you think about the greens, yellows, oranges, and reds, this is going to show you that, but it's going to show it to you by subscale. So we're going to click on that, and then for this self-determination subscale, you go through and you select whatever task you'd like to have as part of the VocFit planning tool. You can I've added those tasks. You see at the bottom, I've added 9 tasks to that. You hit create plan, and then at that point, you go through and you determine whether or not these skills that we're working on, are we going to focus on instruction, so they're going to learn a new skill? Are we going to look at adaptation, so they are going to, or we're going to figure out a way for them to do that a little bit differently? Are we going to look at an accommodation? So maybe someone uses a wheelchair, and again, we need to look at what are some permanent accommodations that they're going to need to be able to be successful in that work environment. And it's important for us to be able to share that and to help our interns figure out how to do those types of skills. The next thing that we can do is to look at database curricular decision making for cohorts. So we can assess everybody at the beginning of the year, and then we can look and see what are the skills for all eight seekers in your particular cohort. So we can see their strengths here are in general abilities and interpersonal skills, but look at like self-determination. They're not very good at it. So we know from a curricular standpoint, we're going to need to spend a lot of time on self-determination. The nice thing, though, that you can do, and so this is real data from a project search program. The purple is where's the cohort at the beginning of the year. The light blue is where's the cohort at the end of the year. So we're able to see the growth for all of those 8 job seekers over the course of the year. I joke with our project search instructors, they should cut and paste this and put it into their annual performance review, because how great is that to be able to demonstrate that growth over time. The other thing that we can do on the back end, and this is something that's an administrative function, we can do pre-post cohort reports for regions. So this is just an aggregation of 4 particular project search programs. They have 22 interns. So again, we're looking at where are they at the beginning of the year, and that's purple, and then where are they at the end of the year, and that's the light blue. So we can see the amount of change that they've had for all 22 of these interns collectively. So again, a really useful report at the regional state level. And this just shows you the grant that we had with the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities and the improvements that we've made. One other thing that we're starting to think about is how do we get VocFit into the hands of younger individuals and their families so they can start thinking about employment and employment exploration at a younger age, so they have more time to develop those skills. Just some VocFit references to hopefully help you understand that we've been working on this a long time, continuing to make improvements, and hopefully you've seen that. If you have questions going forward, again, please feel free to reach out and contact me. Have a great day.